Sullivan Harrell Hall was the oldest building on my college campus. Well, second oldest building on my college campus. And when I was there, it hadn't been redone in a long time, and so it was musty and it was dank. It housed biology. Well, no, actually it housed geology, so there were like rocks everywhere, and it was kind of dusty. And on the wall, there was this plaque. And the plaque has always stuck with me because the plaque was this really sizable stone plaque, and it said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free," from John's Gospel, the 8th chapter. What I didn't realize then, but now realize, is that building was built in 1929, 4 years after the Scopes monkey trial. And it was a statement of this Southern Methodist school that the pursuit of truth was an academic issue as well as a faith issue. It was a clear statement against the false narrative of creationism and regressive attitudes towards science and intellectualism. It was a courageous stand in 1929. In this morning's gospel, we have Jesus, the not so fuzzy and warm Jesus, especially in Matthew's gospel. We see this kind of Jesus a lot. And he lays it all out for the disciples. Last week, we began these stories, we began the journey of green, as I call it, the ordinary time. From now until the last week of November, we began this journey in the lectionary with Jesus calling the 12, or as I like to say, the 14, the 12 disciples and you and me. Jesus giving them power to preach the gospel, to heal the sick, to cast out demons, and warning them that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Do you remember last Sunday's gospel? It's the beginning of this long journey of the Christian narrative, but it's also the beginning of the journey of a metaphorical understanding of faith. And in this morning's gospel, Jesus is just as pointed as he was in last Sunday's gospel. The verses this Sunday are literally the next ones in Matthew. Jesus is on a theme. Not only is discipleship not going to be easy, Jesus tells his disciples, but it's potentially deadly, in fact, dividing family, pitting mother against daughter and son against father, and Jesus' disturbing words that he has come to bring a sword, not to bring peace. This is Jesus militant, and he means business, and he's got my attention. There are two things that strike me about the passage this morning. And the first is Jesus' insistence on truth. Remember my reference to Sullivan Harrell Hall? "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Nothing is covered up that won't be uncovered, and nothing secret that won't become known. And the invariably difficult time that the disciples will have with the folks who don't want the truth. People who are too tied to this world to put their faith in the kingdom of God. Have you ever seen the damage a lie can do? Have you ever noted the extremes that some will go to in order to perpetuate a lie, to live it out, to cover up the truth? It's the stuff of mystery writers and detective television shows, but you and I know it in our own lives because we've seen it. Think of the lengths we, or others, go to in order to cover something up. Think of the lengths we continue a lie. And then think about why we do it. What is it about the truth that we so struggle hard against? How does falsehood benefit us? What are we holding on to in the perpetuation of a lie? Why is the truth so hard? And think about some of the lies we tell ourselves. Think about false narratives that we create or we perpetuate or we seek desperately to reinforce. Perhaps this request seems preposterous or queer to our ears. We can't possibly create false narrative. There's only one truth, right? Everything I believe is true, isn't it? It's the others that have it all wrong. There is no such thing as white privilege, for instance, and there could never have been a lynching in Palm Beach Those kinds of things don't happen here, and if they have, they're ugly, and it was a long time ago, and we shouldn't talk about them. Those are just two examples of false narratives to which we cling desperately. Two things very recently on our minds at Bethesda and freshly in our hearts, and two comments I have heard in the past 2 weeks. Because they make us feel better, false narratives. We have the incredible luxury to be able to curate the kind of information we take in order to make ourselves more comfortable. Because the truth can be inconvenient or unseemly or painful. And we hole ourselves away from anything that threatens our notions of security and well-being, that threaten the false narratives. And we do this vociferously and passionately. We desperately hold on to the things of this world that make us feel better, whether we know we're doing it or, more likely, when we're unaware that we're doing it at all. Because it's scary to put our faith in something other than ourselves, something greater over which we have no control. And this is exactly what Jesus warned his disciples about: the dogged defense of temporal comfort that will pit brother against brother. The kingdom of God is not easy, nor is working for it. And the prospect can be daunting. But Jesus reassures us over and over and over again, even in this passage, that God is with us, that God knows us so well and loves us so much that God even numbers the hairs on our head. Less of a burden for God for some, I guess, but the disciples don't go at this alone. They work for the kingdom of God alongside God, bringing light and truth to the world. And this is exactly what Jesus sends us out to do, you and me, to bring light and to bring truth to this world. You and I are aware of the news every day, and you and I know that we are in a world in a state of unrest. And for some of us, this is unsettling. For some of us, it's frightening. Maybe even the core values of how we were reared have been called into question. Each of us participates in a changing world differently, but what I can tell you is that there is truth amidst the chaos. What I can tell you is that there is truth in the rejection of a world of secrets and false narratives under which many of us have lived for a very long time. And I can tell you that our desire to cling to what is familiar and what is old and what provides us comfort is natural. And it isn't always best for other children of God, or even for ourselves. I can tell you that God is with us, children of a God who are not afraid amidst the change, if we seek the truth that is the foundation of the kingdom of God. After all, isn't that what faith is? The certainty that God is working out God's purpose amidst the recalcitrance of us stubborn mortals. The truth indeed, despite our best attempts to work against it. I am reminded time and again, and I always see it in my mind's eye, the stone plaque on the wall of Sullivan Harrell Hall that said very simply, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Christian discipleship is not easy, brothers and sisters. And Jesus tells us that at the outset. He tells the disciples that when he sends them out, and he tells us too. Discipleship is not convenient, and often discipleship is not popular. But discipleship always embraces the truth, and the faithful always pursue the truth, even amidst the uncertainty and anxiety of a changing world. Because pursuing the truth sets us free to love.